Here on the farm, the horse says neigh. What do other animals say? I'm a little pig and I say, wee, all the way home. Ooh. Hi, that was Richard Smith telling a story to his beloved grandson Harrison. I am Gary, Richard's son, and I'm going to tell Dad's own story via this little video. Dad was totally adamant that he did not want a funeral service, and I know many people wanted a way to remember him. So please do feel very free to add any condolences or recollections you may wish in the comment boxes below this video. Richard Smith arrived in February 1939 at Hillingdon Hospital to Mum Constance, Connie, and Dad Harry, known by his second name Leslie. His mother was well educated and artistic, a good pianist and singer. Leslie had his own butcher's shop, named the Working Man's Butcher. After Richard arrived, it was renamed Les Smith & Son, the family purveyor of meat. In September 1939, Germany invaded Poland, and England went to war with Germany. Germany was expected to invade England at any moment, and the government decided that children should be evacuated to safe areas throughout the country. They were given gas masks in case poison gas was dropped. Dad's was special. It was the face of Mickey Mouse. When he breathed out, it stuck its tongue out. Dad, his mother and sister Robley went to his Auntie Elsie in Skegness. He was allowed to play on the beach as long as he avoided the minefields. Apparently, one day he found his aunt's jewellery box, and to keep it safe from any pesky Germans, he buried it in the sand and totally forgot where. I think that's where I get it all from. After the war, returning home, Richard started walking to school with his mother, or later, rode on a seat behind his mother's bike. On his walks, he would look out for bits of shrapnel from exploded bombs to keep as souvenirs or for swaps of his friends. When he was a little older, he was sent to a different school. He did not do well academically, however, he was popular and a natural leader. The headmaster wrote in his report, "Richard is not very bright academically, but I have no doubt he will muddle through life successfully." Dad commented later how right that insight was. His mother had dreams of him becoming a doctor or lawyer and said, "Do not just be a shopkeeper, dear." How ironic, because that's just what happened to him, and a very good shopkeeper he became. When he was 11, Constance suddenly died of a brain hemorrhage. Dad had to take more responsibility for himself and become more self-reliant. Leslie decided to emigrate the whole family to Australia, and while they all waited for the boat, Richard lived with his grandmother in Worthing. Richard so wanted to be a pilot in the RAF, so to prepare for this, he joined the Air Training Corps. He was very excited that at 16 he was selected to learn to fly a glider at RAF Deltling. During his training he completed and got his wings. He returned home, but when he went to work on the Monday, he felt unwell and collapsed. Tuberculosis was diagnosed, and with the help of antibiotics and 9 months bed rest, he was cured. However, whilst in bed resting, he had grown hugely and was now well over 6 foot tall, far too tall to be an RAF pilot. So a shopkeeper he was going to be. One snowy evening, Dad had noticed a pretty young lady waiting at the bus stop. A couple of years later, while travelling up to London, he saw her yet again. Dad asked and got his date. It turned out to be disastrous, as he thought he spent the whole evening going to be sick, as Deanna introduced him to Chinese food for the first time. She said to his parents, "I'm never going to see him again," but he persevered. They became well known on the train, as he often argued, and Deanna would not speak to him or would try and hide in a different carriage. But the other passengers would take pity and would always help with, "She's hiding in carriage 6. Deanna and Richard were married in a 1963 snowstorm in Staines. Her car was stuck and she was very late. The congregation thought she hadn't bothered coming, but Dad never doubted it. He became his firm's youngest branch manager, and in his first year won Manager of the Year. They bought their first house in Windsor, and then I arrived, apparently bringing some joy in them real Rory, when I crawled off a bed of a dressing table and fell out the top window of the house. The front garden was concrete except for one hydrangea bush, which Deanna had asked Richard to move, which may have just saved my life, as I fell onto the bush and not the concrete. Well done, Mum and Dad. Dad next got a job at Waitrose, and after 2 years he was appointed a deputy branch manager. 6 months later he became a full branch manager, managing the Wokingham branch, and then 2 years later promoted to operations manager. And a year later he was the first Waitrose employer to become a director of the John Lewis Partnership Board. He'd been noticed by the competition, and so he accepted a job in Manchester to be the managing director of the then largest hypermarket in the country, before moving on to an off-licence chain and becoming retail and marketing director of over 1,500 shops. In this time, he had the bright idea to reduce the volume on certain bottles of spirits to avoid tax. So if you see 37.5% instead of 40 on your whiskey, or 17.5 instead of 20 on your vermouth, that's all because of Dad. After he worked for Guinness, Dad then set up a group of 130 newsagent shops, and he finally had his very own retail empire. But a couple of years later, he started to feel a loss of energy. So he retired, did voluntary work at a local hospice, and joined his beloved local Lions Club. Gradually volunteering took more and more of his time. He became president of a Lion Club, and then zone chairman, and then regional chairman for 2 years. One weekend, while attending a training session, he felt unwell for about half an hour. The next day, he was about to leave for a game of golf, but it rained, and he thought, I'll go to the doctor's instead. The doctor examined him, informed him he was about to have a heart attack, and called an ambulance. He needed a replacement aortic heart valve, and he became a member of a zipper club, with a valve from a cow replacing his own. It was time to take things a bit easier, so he resigned from his volunteering duties. Deanna, his wife, was unwell and needed looking after, and Richard also cared for his father and mother-in-law until he passed away. He enjoyed time with his friends, playing golf and organised overseas golf trips and the investment club. And of course, he stayed well enough to spend quality time with his grandson Harrison. A whole new future lay ahead for his family. It's time to say goodbye. Thanks for everything, Richard. Thanks for everything, Dad. Goodbye.
Well, what fun, Gary. Take care, and the best of love to you all. Take care. Bye-bye.